What makes you think that I'm an answer if you ain't mine?
Here we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So speaking of John Wick again, now we know that John Wick exploded at the box office um this past weekend, and we know that it's doing pretty well. But what we didn't talk about was that the film drew 69% male audiences and added 64 million overseas. It's Lionsgate's biggest success over the pandemic era. This person says when you make a fourth in the action franchise, you have to expect it to go down. That is the nature of these franchises, said Joe Drake, chairman of Lionsgate Motion Picture Group. But we kept seeing signals, and it was wonderful to see the movie they delivered. We saw the audience wanting more. 69, you can go ahead and say 70%. 70% male audiences. What does this tell you? I don't know. Maybe when you don't alienate the men at the box office, you actually see who supports the box office. I don't know. Maybe when you make a movie like Shazam, coming out and talking about how gay one of your characters is does not appeal to male audiences. Ever think about that? The goofiness doesn't appeal to male audiences. Perhaps, and I'm just, presenting an idea, perhaps Hollywood needs to consider the possibility that men are your primary audiences. Now, I get what you're thinking, right? There's so much money, you're leaving so much money on the table if you don't prioritize women. I get it. The problem is you need to find another way to do it that doesn't include alienating the men at the box office. Because what's happening here is that there are women going to see this too, but the women go to see this with their man, with their dads, with their uncles, with whomever. And then you're going to get articles like this one right here. You're going to get articles like this one right here. Apparently, my ad blocker expired or some shit like that, Reed, so don't roast me. 5 lessons from John Wick's mega success I assume Hollywood won't take. Instead of John Wick clones or even spin-offs, how about just using the film as inspiration? Chapter 4 put a button on Keanu Reeves' Assassin Adventures for now, but the series isn't slowing down. The fourth quote pulled in 73 million in the US over its opening weekend with a global haul of 137.5 million, a franchise best. Stilinski, screw that. We're gonna get to the 5. Okay, so a future franchise can start small. Agreed. You don't need this big, huge opening, right? You don't need, the first film doesn't need to cost you $200 million. John Wick Chapter 4's 3-hour runtime and enormous set pieces could fool misguided studio executives into thinking that big scope is the only avenue to big reward. Clearly, this theatrical studio executive did not see Reeves in 47 Ronin. Reeves and Stilinski are sitting on top of the world today because the industry had absolutely no respect for their vision. John Wick started off as a spec script from Derek Kolstad, who spent nearly 20 years trying to get any project off the ground, let alone an R-rated assassin movie. Producer Basil, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, saw potential on Kolstad's proto John Wick screenplay, then called Scorn, and enticed the writer to steer clear of studios who would likely bury it in a pile of other spec acquisitions. When Stilinski and Leach came on board, going indie in the 20 to 30 million dollar budget range was the only way to make it happen, as no one in the traditional studio system had faith before the production. So, and I didn't even know that. So apparently the first John Wick was independent, I guess. So what's the second one? Level up more stunt and fight focused directors. Okay, we're not gonna read all that. Mint movie stars with skills. Okay, cool. That makes sense. You take the movie stars and you get them to do stuff like Tom Cruise did this. I mean, he's jumping out of planes like a maniac. So yeah, movies can build worlds too. Absolutely, positively correct. And then 5 lights, camera, action, whatever that means. Okay. Yeah, Hollywood won't take that advice though. But I think it's important to understand that you cannot alienate male audiences. The men are the only ones that are really enthusiastic about your action films. I'm sorry, your action and your how do you call it? Your fantasy films. They're, I mean, it's just that's just the facts. I don't know what else to tell you. Let me get into some of these. Let me get into some of these comments. Honey says, "Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, how you doing, Honey?" Reed says, "Just look at The Matrix. Started small and grew in each installment. Even with the hate from special effects, still did better and better. It's about how good you write." I agree. And quite frankly, Hollywood needs to take that lesson. And for one, y'all gotta stop. Like, people in Hollywood have got to stop. You know, you gotta come out your box. You gotta be willing to say, listen, I got $50 million for a passion project. And really, filmmaking is all about what you can do with what you have. So, you know, if you can't make your film happen with just $50 million, then perhaps you don't need to make your film happen. But, you know, unless your film is coming with a big installed fan base already, it's going to be hard pressed for Hollywood to take risks on your production. But I think what they did is and that's why independent is it's very important for you guys to support your independent artists. It's so important to do it. It's so important to do it. But anyway, we're gonna move on.
Let's go. Hey. Beat that thing down like you started attention, my baby. You had some plans with your man, just tell him to cancel, my baby. Slide to the crib, look like Dracula's mansion, my baby. When you pull up, it's on action, my baby. If these walls talk.